Are you leading with your personality, or are you trying to conform to some previously established version of what it looks like to be a leader? Hi there, I'm Bindi Belanger, co host of the New CEO podcast. And as a strong introvert who used to be in an executive position, I can tell you that not leading with your personality can lead you down a path towards frustration and unfulfillment. In today's episode, I want to share 4 ways that you can lead with your personality and leverage your strengths to become an even better CEO, founder, or executive. Specifically, I want to focus on 2 of the most well known personality traits: introversion and extroversion. Most of you are likely familiar with the terms, but these 2 personality traits are often misunderstood. Many people believe that introverts are shy or antisocial and that extroverts are the life of the party. And while that can certainly be true sometimes, the actual definition is based on how each type gets their energy. So introverts recharge their energy by spending time alone, and extroverts recharge by spending time with others. That doesn't mean that introverts don't like people and that extroverts can't stand to be alone. It just means that when their energy is low, they can each refuel in a different way and that their relationships with others tend to reflect that. So, what do introversion and extroversion look like in the leadership realm? Well, the US is a country that places a high value on extroversion. Susan Cain, bestselling author of Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, claims that 30 to 50% of the workforce identify themselves as introverts. And I highly recommend this book, by the way, and I'm going to include a link to it in the show notes. But the truth is that many of our best known CEOs are introverts, including Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg, Marissa Mayer, and Elon Musk. Not to mention several historical figures, including Abraham Lincoln, Eleanor Roosevelt, Albert Einstein, Rosa Parks, and Mahatma Gandhi. Some of the best known extroverted leaders include Steve Jobs, Jack Welch, Winston Churchill, and Martin Luther King Jr. So obviously, leadership is not a task reserved for one personality type or the other. But these leaders were so successful in part because they knew how to leverage their strengths as well as how to flex in the areas of leadership that weren't as easy for them. So, as a leader, here are the 4 things that you can do to lead with your personality. Number 1, recognize your needs and preferences. First, understand your personality style or archetype and determine which traits really resonate with you. A great way to get some of this insight is to do the free assessment on 16personalities.com, which we'll link for you in the show notes below. And if you're an introvert, notice which introvert tendencies you have, how strong those tendencies are in you, because not all introverts are the same, and how that shows up in you as a leader. And if you're an extrovert, do the same thing. Number 2, honor your strengths and design your role and or your business accordingly. So we want to understand how your preferences are also some of your strengths. For example, extroverts prefer to be out connecting with lots of people, so they're often wonderful at promoting their brands, motivating groups of employees, and inspiring their organizations. Introverts need some alone time and usually have a strong disdain for small talk. I know I do, especially in large group settings, which means you'll often find that they're great on one conversations and they are excellent listeners. They can be talented conflict negotiators and offer innovative solutions when given some alone time to focus. So, based on your personality type and your role, where do you let your best qualities shine? How can you do more of those things? Not only will leaning in here energize you, but your company and team members will benefit as well. Number 3, know how and when to flex. So, what about the areas where your personality type doesn't do so well? What about the introverted CEOs who need to motivate their organizations in a quarterly all hands meeting, for example? Or the extroverted leader who needs to sit down and spend some time alone understanding the core financials of their business in order to make some needed changes? We can't just ignore certain leadership responsibilities because they don't feel good to our personality type. So in these cases, we need to flex. Here is when we need to adopt a growth mindset and learn how to step into these areas outside of our comfort zone. It may be helpful to engage a peer or a coach who excels in one of these areas to help you. And then finally, number 4, know when to partner up. Speaking of other people, it's also important to know when you need to partner up with someone else. In a keynote presentation I gave at the North American Open Source Summit a few years ago, I talked about partnered leadership. By the way, as an introvert, public speaking was not my favorite thing to do, but I tried to do it frequently, and that's an example of learning how to flex. So, in my speech, I talked about how in the tech industry, it was really challenging to find what I called unicorn leaders, or leaders who were technical wizards, great people managers, and had great long term vision and were inspirational speakers. Basically, they had all the things. It was really hard to find those unicorns, right? So instead, I suggested that partnered leaders with different skill sets would allow organizations to make the most of their talented leaders without having to assume the gaps. In fact, partner leadership was what makes the new CEO podcast and the CEO Circle run. Natalie and I are complete opposites in many ways, but we figured out how to leverage our unique strengths and preferences to run our business in a way that works so well for both of us. For example, Natalie leads a lot of our client outreach and engagement because she's an extrovert. And I, as an introvert, handle a lot of the back end work on our podcast, our website, and learning platform. That allows her time to connect with people and me time to work alone. Speaking of Natalie, I hope you'll tune in to the full episode of the new CEO podcast where she'll be joining me to continue going deeper into this topic.